Hello everyone. In this video, let's understand the Indian Independence Act 1947. The last act which we discussed is Government of India Act 1935 and this was in 1947. First, let's understand what had happened between 1935 and 1947. And a small note, I am discussing only those major events that took place between 1935 and 1947. Rest all minor events will be discussed in modern history classes. To continue with, in 1935, Government of India Act was enacted. In that, there were certain provisions which were not came into force and certain provisions were adopted. For example, All India Federation was never accepted. The reason being, princely states did not accept the proposal. Provincial autonomy was adopted, and they also discussed a clause saying responsible government, where viceroy alone could not take the decisions. Viceroy need to work on aid and advice of ministries or ministers of that provincial legislature. That is responsible government, which we discussed in 1935 Act. After the enactment of 1935 Act, in 1937, general elections took place and results came out. In those results, Congress won with majority. They formed 7 ministries in 7 provinces. And in the year 1939, Britain started a war with Germany. We all know this is a World War II. When this war was started, the then viceroy was Linlithgow. He made a statement saying Indians were also at a war. A statement which he did. It was not consulted by any of these ministries which won in 1937 elections. This angered the ministries. For that reason, as an act of protest, what these ministries did, they resigned from the post. The date when they resigned from the post is, it is 22nd December 1939. On the same day, All India Muslim League celebrated it as Day of Deliverance. When Congress is at anger or when Congress is facing struggles, Muslim League celebrated that. For this reason, there is a political divide between Congress and Muslim League after these events. In the year 1940, Muslim League adopted Lahore Resolution, where they demanded for creation of independent states. Which independent states? Those states which Muslim majority was present. It's none other than East of India and West of India, the present day Bangladesh and the present day Pakistan. This was not accepted. And later, this became the basis for creation of Pakistan. In the same year 1940, the war is intense. To take the support from Indians, they came up with an offer called as August Offer. In this August Offer, they promised few things. First thing, going to expand the Viceroy Council. And next thing, they also promised for larger role of Indians in making of Indian Constitution after the war. These 2 promises were made. First thing is regarding Viceroy's Executive Council, and next thing is regarding Indians in constitution making. However, these offers were not accepted by Congress as they did not promise immediate self-governance. In the year 1942, the war was intensified. Then came Stafford Cripps to India. Who is this Cripps? He came up with a mission called as Cripps Mission. What this mission proposed? It proposed dominion status. This was not our goal, as we discussed in Government of India Act 1935. In the year 1929, before the starting of civil disobedience movement, they demanded for dominion status through Nehru Report in the year 1928. That was not accepted. In return, they extended their demands, saying, now we don't want dominion status, we want full independence. But in 1942 Cripps mission, what they were saying, we are going to give you dominion status after the war. And next thing, Constituent Assembly will be framed to frame the constitution. This Constituent Assembly will be made after the war. That was the second thing which they came up with the mission. Next thing, it also said those provinces which are present at that point of time, it is British provinces and princely states both. They are having freedom either to be with India or not. That three provisions were given through Cripps mission or Cripps proposal. Even this was not accepted. This was not accepted by both Congress and Muslim League. The reason being the Congress, because this Cripps mission did not talk about any transfer of power. That was first thing why Congress rejected it. And next thing, they did not talk about any defense. Meaning, during the war, the defense of India will be at the hands of Britain government. This was not liked by Congress, and the Cripps mission was not accepted by Congress. Why Muslim League denied this thing? The reason being, they did not talk about partition, as they were trying from Lahore Resolution in 1940. For this reason, Muslim League rejected the idea of Cripps proposal. After the Cripps proposal, in the year 1942, India came up with a movement called as Quit India movement. This was a nationwide movement where Gandhiji came up with a slogan called as Do or Die. The main objective of launching the Quit India movement is to immediately end the Britain rule in India. In turn, British responded with a mass arrest of Congress leaders and those people who were involved in Quit India movement. In the year 1945, war situation improved. Then Viceroy Wavell came up with a plan called as Wavell Plan, where the objective is to constitute more Indians in the Viceroy Executive Council. And next thing, to discuss this provision of adding more Indians into Viceroy Executive Council, what they did, they held an Shimla conference, and Indians, that is Congress and Muslim League, they both are having disagreement over this Shimla conference. Reason being, who is going to represent Indian Muslims there? Over that reason, there were no takeaways in the Shimla conference. That's the failure of Wavell Plan. In the same year, 1945, British emerged victorious. But British is facing some very serious problems, such as financial stress. And next thing, it was forced to decolonize. And it also facing strong demand from Indians for Indian independence. These were the problems which were in front of Britain government after winning the war. To solve this problem, in the year 1946, British came up with a plan called as Cabinet Mission Plan. Where in this Cabinet Mission Plan, Britain government announced that we are going to transfer the powers to Indian peacefully with this plan. Let's understand what is this Cabinet Mission Plan and all. In Indian Independence Act 1947, let's understand the key features. To begin with, on February 20, British Prime Minister Clement Attlee declared that British rule would end by June 30, 1948. As we discussed in Cabinet Mission Plan, what they said, we are going to transfer the power. They gave a deadline saying by June 30, 1948, we are going to leave India and go to British now. After which the power would be transferred to responsible Indian hands. That was said. The reason being, as we already discussed, after the war, they are facing the problem of finances. And there was strong raising demands by Indians for their independence. And there is also pressure on Britain government to decolonize. For these reasons, they came up with a decision to leave India and hand over the power. Next clause, this announcement followed by the agitation of Muslim League demanding partition of the country. After this decision had been made by Britain government, Muslim League started protesting. The reason being, if Britain did not make a partition between Indians and Muslims, they thought Muslims would be a minority in this large country of India. For that reason, they started agitation. Again on June 3rd, 1947, Britain government made it clear, saying the constitution which was made by Constituent Assembly of India cannot apply to those parts which were unwilling to accept it. Meaning there were British provinces then and also princely states. In these British provinces and princely states, if someone is not willing to accept the Constitution of India, they can remain independent. And this clause says Indians cannot force them to join India, or Indians cannot force them to accept the Constitution of India. That is being said. On the same day, Lord Viceroy Mountbatten, the then Viceroy of India and the last Viceroy of India, has put forth the partition plan known as Mountbatten Plan. This Mountbatten Plan was accepted by Congress and Muslim League. Let's understand what is Mountbatten Plan first. In this plan, he said there will be a partition with two dominions, India and Pakistan. And also in this plan, he said there will be a referendum in the places like Northwest Frontier Province. They are having freedom to join any dominion they wanted to. This is the core idea of Mountbatten Plan. And what Congress and Muslim League did, they wanted to accept it with immediate effect. And for that reason, they wanted to enact the Indian Independence Act 1947. Let's understand what it is. It ended the British rule in India and declared India as an independent and sovereign state from August 15, 1947. With Indian Independence Act, now India is declared independent and sovereign. Next aspect, it provided for the partition of India and creation of dominions of India. We were using this word dominions very frequently. What does dominion means? Dominion is not equal to republic. Remember this word. What are dominions? Dominions is they're having authority to self-govern within their territories, but they were subject to British Crown. Not Britain government, it is to British Crown. That is dominion means. And India is dominion till 1950. Only in the year 1950, India became republic. What these lines are saying, it provided for the partition of India and creation of dominions of India and Pakistan, which provided the Indian Independence Act provided for the creation of dominions, two independent dominions, India and Pakistan, and given a right to secede from British Commonwealth even. It abolished the office of Viceroy. Now Viceroy is not there, his executive council is not there. Who is Viceroy? As we discussed, there will be British Crown. Under British Crown, there will be Secretary of State and there will be Viceroy under him. Right? Now, the post of Viceroy was not there. In the place of Viceroy, each dominion is having Governor General who was to be appointed by British King only. And this British King cannot appoint by his will. It is on the advice of Dominion Cabinet. Meaning, India is a dominion. Indian Cabinet need to tell who is the governor of A province or who is the governor of B province. Indian government or Indian Cabinet need to give him an advice and he need to act on that. His majestic government in Britain was to have no responsibility with respect to government of India and Pakistan. With this Indian Independence Act, what it is saying, the government of Britain is not having any authority on government of India and government of Pakistan, meaning they were made sovereign now. Whatever was done in Britain will now not be implemented in India or Pakistan. They are having the free will now. And next aspect, it empowered the constituent assemblies of the two dominions to frame and adopt any constitution of their respective nations. Meaning, if they were making any constitution, they can make with any clause with respect to what was necessary for them. And they can repeal any of the act. Whatever was implemented until now, they can be removed in this constitution. It was not necessary. All the British laws must be kept in the constitution. And it also said, including the Independence Act itself. Whatever the Independence Act says, even there was no need to add them in the constitution itself. of the independent dominions. Next aspect, it empowered the constituent assemblies of both the dominions. Now, what is constituent assembly here? These are the assemblies which are constituted to frame the constitution of each country or each dominion. Both the dominions to legislate for the respective territories till the new constitutions were drafted and enforced. What these lines are saying? Until the new constitutions are adopted, it was Constituent Assembly who is having authority to frame the constitution. And it also says, till the new constitutions were drafted and enforced, no act of British Parliament passed after August 15, 1947 was to extend to either of new dominions unless it was extended by the law of legislature of dominion. All these lines, what it says? Simply, any law made by Britain Parliament after August 15, 1947. No such law will be implemented directly in India or Pakistan, which they claims these are the dominions. Understood? It is simply saying whatever the law that was adopted after August 15, 1947, it will have no effect on India and Pakistan. It abolished the office of Secretary of State for India. As we discussed, under British Crown, there is Secretary of State who is managing administration, who is managing finance, who is managing recruitment of civil servants. His powers are transferred to Secretary of State for Commonwealth Affairs. Next aspect, it proclaimed the lapse of British paramountcy over Indian princely states and relations with tribal areas from August 15, 1947. These lines says, from this date of August 15, 1947, Britain is having no authority over princely states and those tribal areas which they were having authority till before 1947. It granted the freedom to Indian princely states either to join the Dominion of India or Dominion of Pakistan or to remain independent. It said, if you want to join India, you can join India. If you want to join Pakistan, you can join Pakistan. To whom it said? To the princely states. If you don't want to join any of them, you can remain independent even. Next clause, it provided for the governance of each of dominions and provinces by Government of India Act 1935. We discussed the Constituent Assembly which was constituted in India in the year 1946. This is making constitution, right? But at the time of constitution, at the time of making the constitution, on which law the country will be governed? Even that was clarified in this act. It said on the basis of Government of India Act 1935. On the specific rules of Government of India Act 1935, you can govern the country until the new constitution was adopted. Till the new constitution were framed, the dominions were, however, authorized to make modifications in this act. It also said you don't need to follow what was exactly present in Government of India Act 1935. You can also modify according to your needs. That was being stated. It deprived the British monarch of right to veto the bills. Meaning, earlier, whatever the bills that were passed in India, they were having veto. Either they can accept them, they can reject them, they can withhold them. Right now, they were not having any of this authority after August 15, 1947. But this right was reserved for the Governor General. The reason being, don't forget the fact, India is still a dominion, not a republic. For this reason, the Governor General will now be having power to assent the bill in the name of majesty. Understood? Meaning any bill that was passed, that need to be sent to Governor General, and after passing to him, he can accept it, he can reject it. That is what these lines are saying. It designated the Governor General of India and provincial governors as constitutional head of states. With this act, it is saying the Governor General of India and the provincial governors were head of the states. They were not having monopoly in taking decisions of the state subjects. It is the respective council of ministers, they need to advise the head of the states. It dropped the title of Emperor of India from royal titles of King of England. Meaning after 1876, The British crown was called as Empress of India. The British king was called as Emperor of India. These titles were removed after August 15, 1947. Next aspect, it discontinued the appointment of civil servants and reservations of post by Secretary of State for India. Earlier we discussed Secretary of State is having authority over administration or finance and recruitment of civil servants. If he is having authority over recruitment of civil servants, he can reserve some posts for Britain people, right? That had happened until the time they were in power. But with this act, this provision was removed. Now, Secretary of State is having no authority to do that. The members of civil services appointed before August 15, 1947 would continue to enjoy all the benefits that they were entitled to till that time. Meaning, from the time, take after August 15, 1947, the earlier recruited civil servants which were in power will now not be removed. They'll be given salary, they'll be given pension, they'll be given holidays, they'll be given medical aid. All these will be given. But the appointment is now with dominions. That is what these lines are saying. Secretary of State is having no role in these appointments. August 15th, the British rule came to an end and the powers was transferred to two new independent dominions, that is India and Pakistan. Lord Mountbatten became the first Governor General of New Dominion of India. As we discussed, he was the last Viceroy of India and he was the first Governor General of India. And second Governor General is Rajgopalachari. And Jawaharlal Nehru became the first Prime Minister of independent India. The Constituent Assembly of India, formed in 1946, became the Parliament of the Indian Domain. The Constituent Assembly, which was once adopted or constituted to frame the Constitution, it has become a Parliament. Understood? This is all about Government of India Act 1945. With this, the historical background chapter comes to an end. Hope you understood it very clear. Thank you.